Okay, so here's an audio version. We're going to create that grid. Um, I'm going to do my best to explain this and use this pointer, if you can follow along, to tell you what I'm tapping. So the first step, we're going to start by, say this is your home field. We're going to tap on the field here, go to copy, and then in either direction, I always go to the right. Duplicate a field over here. Make sure you set the space between to 0. So you close that gap. Save it. Now what we want to do is replace the shape of this field and create the grid. So we will tap on that duplicated field, go to edit. From here we're going to go to more and replace. Now we can go to where it says football, tap on geometry, and go to rectangle. Then you can replace now. When you're in that replace mode here, so you want to make sure you tap on this image, then you can tap replace now. So if we were to save it here, you will see we just changed the shape of that football field to the grid. So, well, it's not the grid yet, but here's how we create the grid. We'll start by highlighting the rectangle, go to edit, we're going to go to more and arrange. We want to set our width to 5, feet to 0, inches to 0, 5 yards by 10. So 10 yards. Feet and inches are to 0. You can save that. And then we want to create our grid area. So going into rectangle, tap the arrow here. And then from here we can go to add element. We're going to go to geometry and rectangle. We want to create this rectangle to be 2 yards wide by 10 yards tall. Make sure you correct the feet and inches to 0. So we have a 2 wide by 10 tall. I know this is very interesting that it does this, but so now what we want to do is over up at the top, we go to, you can rotate it. We want to go to move. So we have move highlighted, then we can shift it by tapping these arrows. So we're going to tap this right arrow here a few times. We'll go up one more. When we want to dial it in to get it close and right on top of this corner. So to be more precise, we're going to change the yards to 0. We're going to go to inches. We're going to go to 1 inch. So anytime we tap these arrows, we're going to be moving it 1 inch at a time. So I keep tapping it, and you can just see right there it overlaps, and it looks like we need to go to the left 1 more inch. So right now we're perfectly on the edge here. We can go to 0 inches, and we're going to go 1 yard to the right. Right? So we're going to save that. And in this rectangle, in this folder here, remember, this is our main folder. We're going to open it up, and then inside of that main folder, we've got our subfolder, which is our first grid. And we want to edit this specific grid because we want the robot to paint in an efficiency pattern. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying. So it's going to paint the rectangle here. Then we want it to start here, paint this rectangle, and then when it hits this line, we want to manipulate this segment here to run down and paint this way. So our first step is to highlight this segment here, scale it to size, and then rotate it into position. So how do we do that? It's very easy. Go to rectangle here, so you can see it's highlighted. So this is the element that we just recently added. Open up that folder, and where it says top, this is the segment we want to manipulate, because you can see it's highlighted green. So highlight top, go to more, arrange, and we know we want to set this width to be 10 yards because that's the height of the entire grid itself. So 10 yards. Then what we can do, because you can see it extended it way out here to the right, up at the top where it says rotate, highlight rotate. So now we can decide to rotate this thing 90 degrees. So tap this right arrow right here one time, and it just rotated this, swung it all the way down here. So now all we got to do is shift the whole entire line over 1 yard. So if we go back up at the top here where it says move, we can make sure that 1 yard is selected, which it already is. 0 feet, 0 inches. We highlight this arrow here one time, tap it, and it just shifted over 1 yard. So now what the robot is going to do is, after it paints this outer box, it's going to head straight to this corner here and try to paint this outer box, but we manipulated the top line here to be the 2nd yard line running down here. So it's going to come this way, paint this way, then it's going to paint this way, and now we need to manipulate this segment down here to be painting this way. So it's basically the same steps, but just in reverse, I guess. So we can save this. So right now we're going to manipulate this bottom segment to be running downwards right here. So within the right folder, which if we go back one and we go back again, here's our main folder. We'll open that up, and then we have our added element here. It's a rectangle. You can see it highlights all of these added elements. Open up the rectangle, the added element, and then it's going to be, because we've already manipulated the top, the right, now we want to change the bottom here. So highlight the bottom, more, and then arrange. So we need to extend this line to be 10 yards. So we're going to say 10 yards here. So 0 feet, 0 inches, 10 yards. Now up at the top here where it says rotate, you don't want to tap rotate canvas, but you want to tap where it says rotate. Then we can go to the left. So here where that little left arrow is, it's going to rotate at 90 degrees. And then we can go back to the top where it says move. And we're going to move it over 1 to 3 yards. So change our value to 3 yards. Tap this arrow one time. So now, the way we created it, the robot is going to be very efficient. It's going to paint this outer box, and then it's going to paint this smaller lines, our inner lines, going this way, then this way, then this way, and then down here. So now we need to have it start running these lines across here, and it's the same method. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've done. If you tap save, You can see it goes from this square here to starting to look like our grid. So, highlighting this field or this grid, we can go to Edit, and now we need to do the other half. So this is our main folder here, rectangle. Let's go to Actions and rename Grid. Cool. So we'll open up this grid folder, and let's take a look at each segment. So left, top, right, bottom. So that's how it's going to paint. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, we're already past all this stuff. Vertical. I renamed, go to Actions, rename this rectangle added element. I renamed it vertical. So if we tap this arrow here, you can see we've got the left, the top, which we manipulated to be another line, right, and bottom, which we manipulated to be another line here. So go back. Main folder here is grid. Open that up, and we can add another element here. So rectangle, right? Rectangle. Tap on this rectangle here, and then we want to set it to be 5 yards by, so feet 0, inches 0. The height is going to be, I'm sorry, we're going to go 5 yards tall, feet 0, inches 0, and the width is going to be 2 yards. And make sure you set feet to 0 and inches to 0 here. So 2 yards wide by 5 yards high. I don't know why 2 feet 12 inches is 1 yard, so it's 5, but that's weird that it does that. So now we just need to move it and rotate it. So where it says rotate, we'll tap on rotate, and then we could just rotate it 1 to the left here, so where it says left. And this is necessary for being efficient in the pattern that it's going to paint. So we rotated it 1 to the left here. You can see the anchoring point is right there. So we'll go to move at the top. And now we can just tap these arrows because it's going to shift it 1 yard at a time. So we'll tap these arrows. We're almost in position now. Tap this top arrow. Okay, so we need to change the value from 1 yard to 0 yards, and we'll go 1 inch at a time. So we've got 1 inch. We tap this arrow. It's going to shift it 1 inch at a time here. So the bottom arrow, just keep tapping it until we are, boom, we are overlapping the other line. And then we'll go this way 1 time. Okay, so now we're overlapping on our main box grid area. And we can change the inches value to 0 and the yards to 1. So we got 1 yard. We're going to shift it in the top arrow. So tap that 1 time. And there we go. So we're starting to make our grid pattern now. So save. And this rectangle here, which is our second added element, we are going to go to Actions and rename. So we're going to call it horizontal. Click done. So here are our horizontal lines, which we have to manipulate this line and this line so that we are painting in an efficient pattern. So we'll open up where it says horizontal. We'll open up that folder by tapping this little arrow. So left, you can see, is in the right position. Top is not. We need to manipulate this top segment. So highlight top, more, arrange, go to height, and we know we want to be at 5 yards. So you can see it extends it way out here. Now we can, where it says rotate at the top, tap this right arrow down here. So right, tap this 1 time, and you see it rotates it, and it overlaps that left line. So if we go up to the top where it says move, tap this arrow 1 time. So now we've moved this element in position. So that's good. Now we've just got to save it And if we look at the right segment, we're good. Look at the bottom segment, this needs to be manipulated as well. So highlight bottom, more, arrange, height. We know we want it to be 5 yards. And then if we go to move, if we go at the top where it says rotate, take this left arrow, tap it 1 time, and then we can go back up to move, tap move at the top, and we can just do 1 yard at a time. So 1, tap this top arrow, 2, one more time, 3. So now we've got our grid pattern coming along. Save it. Alright, so we're almost there. Back at our main folder, if we go to grid, you see everything is highlighted. We'll open up that folder where it says horizontal. This is our most recent added element. We renamed it horizontal. Where it says copy, go ahead and copy it. Okay, and you can see it creates a new element here, horizontal copy. Highlighting this whole folder, so highlight horizontal copy, go to more, arrange, and then up at the top where it says move, we're going to want to move it. We can go 1 yard at a time. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 yards. We really need to go 3 yards. So we can just change the value here to 3. So yeah, and then we moved it right into position. So now we can save that. And then there's one more line that we got to take care of, this last one here. So we'll go add element here at the bottom. We're going to go to rectangle, tap the rectangle, and we'll scale it to size. It doesn't really matter what the width is, but we'll keep it at 2. Or really we can just go 1 yard, 0 feet, 0 inches. The height is going to be 5 yards, 0 feet, 0 inches. Then we want to rotate at the top, tap rotate, go to the left arrow 1 time, and then back up at the top where it says move. We're going to tap these arrows here to move it way up here where we want it to be. So, to really get it dialed in, we want to go to inches. We're going to go 1 inch at a time to match this line here. There, that's good. Go left 1 time. There we go. So now we want it to be 1 yard here. We're going to tap this, change the value to 1 yard, and then tap this arrow 1 time. Now we just need to get rid of the top, the right, and the bottom segments of that particular element. So, rectangle, you can see where it's highlighted up here. Open up this rectangle element here, added folder. So the left segment we need, the top segment we don't need, the right segment we don't need, and we don't need the bottom. Alright, save. So we can save right here. And our grid is now ready to be moved into position. Okay, so taking a look at what we've done, we want to organize these fields. If you tap on this grid area, down here where it says grid 1, you can tap on the text and rename it whatever you want. I named it grid 1. Click done. It's going to synchronize, and then tapping on the football field, I renamed it here football 1. So I'm naming each field to keep it organized. Then what we're going to do is add a tag. So we want to add a tag to this, and we want to add a tag to that football field. So up at the top where it says more, go to more, and then here where it says fields lists, tap on fields lists, and you can see, forget about this house 1, property line, all that stuff, where it says grid 1 and football 1. These are the 2 fields that I renamed, and they don't have tags. So you can tap on where it says add tag and type here grid, which I've already got a tag named grid. You can tap add, but I've already got a tag named grid. tag named grid. Done, and you'll see shortly there's been a tag added to grid 1. Go to football, add tag, and then type in football, which I've already got a tag here named football. So tap on done, and then I'll go back to map here. And so what we've done is we've made it easy to manipulate each segment when they're overlapped. So up here with this little filters view, you can tap this right here, and then we can unselect all, and we can say, alright, I just want to look at my grid, my football field, or just my grid. And you see the football field disappears, my grid is highlighted. For now, we'll look at both of them. Tap on the grid, go to move, and you see we've got our 4 arrows which we can move the field in, and we want it to move it 10 yards. So change the value here to 10 feet 0 inches 0, and we want to go in this direction here. Alright, now given the picture that you gave me, we want to run it down these outside of the inner hash marks. So if we go to yards and we just tap on keyboard, you can type in 15.5, tap done, and then over here tap this arrow one time, and we are now, our first grid is now in position. So you can save it, and you can see our first grid has now been moved in position. So from here on, we want to duplicate this grid. It's still its own plan. So if I highlight it, you see the football field got highlighted, but not the grid. If I tap it again, it's kind of hard. I can't highlight the grid because it's overlapping the football field, which is why it's necessary to add a tag. So where it says filter, tap here, uncheck your football field, click done, so that grid is the only one highlighted. Done. Now we can tap on that grid, we can go to copy, and we can copy it in this direction here and set the space between, change the value from inches to yards, tap on custom, and tap on 5, because we want there to be a 5-yard gap between that field. So save, go back to your filters and check and see, highlight your football field along with your grid. Okay, now we've got 2 grids out here, and you're going to repeat the same process, copying the grid until you're all the way at the other end.